in a few seconds here.
Okay, let me know if I'm live, everybody.
If I see us live, I'll make an awesome announcement. I don't see us.
I still don't see us live.
All right, I'm getting tired now. Oh, I see us
Okay,
there.
okay, we're
Tick
live.
tock,
Wonderful.
tick that time to rock.
Tick tock, tick tock, everybody, tick tock. Can everyone please let me know if the sound is okay very quickly, if everything sounds okay, looks okay? We have two very good-looking individuals here, so okay, stop it. I'm here with David Wood. David Wood is someone that every Islamist out there hates very much. It's an honor to to greet you together with him.
Do they hate me, or do they love me so much that their feelings are confused?
I don't know. We should ask them. We should ask them. I'm also here with myself. I call myself. I think I'm funny and call myself the Apostate prophet. And I do that because someone else 1,400 years ago thought he was funny and called himself a prophet. And that went very, very wrong, which is why we need to be sitting here and doing this today. Okay, David, how are you? Long time no see.
Yeah. We've been planning. We've been planning to go live together, and then something keeps happening. The last time I got horribly sick. Like when I told you, I said I can't. We're supposed to go live tonight. I don't think I can because I'm having a problem with having to run to the bathroom over and over again. And you said, okay, we'll just schedule it for another day. It got way worse than that.
Really?
That was right. Yeah, that was right after the Israel trip. And I'm really good at functioning on little or no sleep. I could go a couple nights with no sleep. I can go 8 to 10 nights just getting about 2 or 3 hours sleep a night, but afterwards I get sick. The first germ that hits me, I get horribly sick because my immune system is so depleted. But man, it was bad.
So you went to Israel and you got sick.
No, I got sick when I came back. There was a flu going around when I got back, and I only get the flu like every 4 or 5 years, but it's always like when I'm like massively sleep deprived and my immune system is destroyed, and then it's bad.
I don't know. To me, it sounds like you went to Israel and you became sick because Allah was very angry with you and Allah punished you for all the things you were doing. And I'm sure Muslim warrior here in the comment section will agree with me on that. So, no,
yes, anything that you ever go through, it's because Allah is punishing you. What about anything that Muhammad went through? It's Allah blessing him in a really strange way.
Yeah.
Aisha said that she never saw anyone experience more pain and agony than Muhammad did. So obviously, if we're going to point to anyone and say, this guy's being punished, it would be Muhammad. But no, Allah's just blessing him.
Of course. Allah loved him. Allah loved him so much that he punished him in it's a horrible way. I'm sorry that he made him suffer in such a horrible way for his own good. And because Allah likes it, that's how Allah does that.
Yeah. Because whatever doesn't kill you just makes you stronger. So that's why Muhammad ended up with the strength of 30 men, right?
I knew it was going to go there. Okay. So what were we going to talk about?
Oh yeah, you better start with this horrible injury on my face.
Oh, I'll come to that. I'll come to that very quickly. I know everyone's seeing that, but I want everyone to sit there in agony and wonder why you have such a terrible thing on your face. But before that, we wanted to go live on your channel actually tonight, and then we went on live on my channel, and that's because you can't stream anymore for a week.
Oh yeah, I'm penalized for a week. Someone asked why I'm yelling. I didn't realize I was yelling because I have headphones on and there's no noise around me, so I don't realize how loud I'm talking. So I'll get that under control.
Okay.
But yes, I've been surprised that YouTube has let me get away with so many episodes of Muhammad's Boom Boom Room. None of them actually break any rules, but YouTube doesn't just block people for actually breaking the rules. they'll just block you for something they don't like and then say you broke rules. So I've been surprised that they let me get away with so many episodes. Well, this time they finally did it. Last night I posted Muhammad meets a Klansman. Muhammad meets a Klansman. So Muhammad met someone from the KKK, and then they found out that they agreed on quite a bit. They agreed on the Jews. They agreed on enslaving black people and things like that. They agreed on all kinds of things. And once the Klansmen found out that Muhammad was the whitest prophet in all of history, who bought, owned, sold, and traded black African slaves, and was hell-bent on destroying Jews, the Grand Wizard of the KKK converted to Islam. And then they got blown up, but it was by accident. Muhammad tossed his detonator and then blew them up. So that was the episode, and YouTube banned me for hate speech. They said that's hate speech. Now, notice the only hate speech in there are, one, you could say things that the Klansman was saying were hate speech, but that's us making fun of the Klansman. As far as the things Muhammad was saying, they're teachings of Islam. So they would be saying that Islam is full of hate speech. So anyway, I don't know. I don't think they do a very good job of being able to know the difference between making fun of hate speech and committing hate speech. So I appealed it, but you only came on YouTube pretty recently, AP. I remember when the appeal system actually worked really well. I would win like probably 90 to 95% of the appeals. People would false flag my stuff, and I would appeal it and stuff like that, and I would win the vast majority of them. That's totally reversed now. Now it's just almost impossible to win an appeal if you don't have some like connection or some way of winning, some way of getting through to them, being able to put some kind of pressure on them. You just lose, even if it's just totally ridiculous. So basically we are in a situation where you apparently cannot make fun of Muhammad's claim that his followers are going to go around killing the Jews until, Jews are hiding behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees are calling out saying, hey, there's a Jew behind me, come kill him. You can't make fun of that, or you're guilty of hate speech for making fun of it. So just a sad world that we're turning into right now.
Yeah, the funny thing is, YouTube is supposed to be a platform where you publish movies and short movies, where you publish in movies and short movies include every kind of genre, and those also include satire, and people publish stuff like that all the time, But the problem is, it is then not about Muhammad and the KKK probably, and that's why that goes through. But you can publish satire about completely insane stuff, about very very hardcore stuff that people just shouldn't see, And all kinds of stuff is on YouTube, but when it comes to this, then YouTube suddenly has a problem with that. This is it is crazy.
Yeah, and it's just you and me, right? You're an atheist, I'm a Christian. We can sit here blasting away at each other, making fun of each other's ideologies all day long. As soon as we toss Islam into the mix, suddenly it's hate speech. It's interesting.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's come to the elephant in the room, which is you have something very terrible on your face.
Oh yeah, that's a. Let's see if you guys can see this here. This is a pretty decent. I just got this yesterday, so this is after one day. But this was.
You were beaten up by Islamists, as far as I've heard.
No, this is the octagon, man. It's the octagon. Octagon, underground, not that UFC crap. We're talking underground stuff. But I guess it was several weeks ago. I posted that I'd had a biopsy because I'd had this, what I thought was a mole for years that I'd been burning off with acid because I just thought it was an annoying mole that kept itching and bleeding. Turns out moles aren't supposed to itch or bleed. It was cancer. And I just been burning it off with acid for years. So I only made any sort of announcement. That's something I wouldn't normally just even mention, because it's that, guys, that kind of skin cancer is not, it's not going to kill you. I mean, unless you just let it sit for a long time. It is very slow growing type of cancer. So it's not the sort of thing that's going to kill you. I wouldn't even mention it. But the only reason I did mention it is because I knew like it was going to be messing up my face, right? So people were going to ask, hey, what's going on with your face? So I mentioned it, and a lot of people were a lot more worried about it than I think the situation warranted. But yeah, so anyway, this is the end result of it. You go to the doctor, he cuts the whole place out, and it's actually, see, I was wondering, because it's actually, it's a growth, and they have to cut out like a hole. And so I was wondering, it's hard to stitch up, like, if you're missing just a chunk. So here's how they do it. Just so everyone knows, I got some paper here. So I was wondering, like, if you cut that out, how do you stitch that up? Because it doesn't hold well together. You put a stitch in there, stitch is going to break it. So I asked the doctor about that, and he says, no, well, yeah, this is what we have to cut out. But when we actually cut it, we cut like this.
Yeah.
We cut like that. And so we cut this entire section out. So this is not cancerous here, but we have to cut that out because then you can squeeze that together and stitch it up. So that's why you have this sort of long scar, even though it was just kind of one spot there. But yeah, they go ahead and cut that out. And so they chop that out. And now it's gone. And worst case scenario, I got a little scar here. But again, octagon.
Well, people love it. People say it looks very cool. It looks very nice, David. It looks amazing. People are in love with your scar, as far as I see in the kind of the comment section right now. It almost makes me.
I have awesome scars all over. I don't know how well you can see that now, but I have pretty dope scars. But yeah, no cool ones on my face. I hope this one stays like this, and people can start calling me. I can make a Scarface Apologetics. That could be my backup channel for when YouTube inevitably bans the one I have now.
This is.
And then when they ban me, I can say they're banning me because of my scar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So this is a lot punishing you again, and you this time noticing that, and getting rid of Allah's punishment directly on your face and walking away with pride. This is amazing. So Muslim warrior, take this.
Hey. George Holm said, everyone is saying David Scarface Wood, David Scarface Wood, Scarface, Al Pacino Scarface. As soon as I saw David Wood, Al Pacino Scarface, I had a flashback to some rap lyrics. It was way back in the day. You're talking like 92. So anyway, you remember the Fab Five, and it goes, why, oh why did I drink cappuccino, scar upon my face, but I'm not Al Pacino? It's the Fab Four.
People probably, I have no idea.
No, well, you were in Germany that time, so you can be forgiven. You would have been listening to the Fantastische Vier.
Fantastische Vier, yeah.
All right.
Were you going somewhere with that?
So
I thought you were still talking. Anyway. What?
No, I'm going nowhere. So we're done. Scar, that'll heal up.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I was driving with my around with my wife, who's also here in the live chat, when we saw that you published a video about your skin cancer, and I don't know, that was hilarious, and I thought it was
hilarious that I got cancer.
It was hilarious. I thought only David Wood could publish a video about having skin cancer, and then the video is just comedy, and everyone is just laughing because it was funny. People are asking for your hillbilly accent.
Oh, which one? I got several.
I don't know. They're asking for some.
Oh, they probably mean that KKK one.
Oh yeah, that was one. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I just recall people from like childhood, growing up in like mountains of West Virginia and stuff, and like, and then I just put them up to an extreme, right? So this guy had kind of a weird accent, and I'll just send it up to an extreme. But yeah, the KKK guy did sort of this high pitch, and you didn't see it. You didn't see it, did you?
I watched like a little bit of it. I thought I'm gonna watch the rest later, and then.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, the ongoing joke we were really trying to drive home all this stuff about Muhammad, because we bring it up over and over again. About the whiteness, the whiteness of his thigh, and the whiteness of his armpit, and the whiteness of his stomach. So what we would do is every one of those would get repeated 3 times. Muhammad would say it, and then the Klansmen would say it in shock and awe, and then Muhammad would say it, and we would have the source up on the screen. So Muhammad would go, "My followers talked over and over about the whiteness of my thigh." And he would go, "The whiteness of your thigh?" And then it would, "Yes, the whiteness of my thigh and the whiteness of my cheeks." And he'd go, "The whiteness of your cheeks." And we just kept doing that. So that was kind of the ongoing joke there. And it was like the main joke throughout it was just Muhammad saying something and then the KKK guy repeating it. And the only other joke we had kind of was at the end when Muhammad asked him if he's ready to recite the Shahada. And Muhammad goes, "Now repeat after me. La ilaha illallah." And the guy goes, "What power?" And he goes, "Muhammadu Rasulullah." "What power?" And then Muhammad praises him for his pronunciation of the Shahada.
Yeah. All right. It's sad it's gone, but you have it on BitChute, I believe. I posted that on Facebook. So
yeah, it's on BitChute. BitChute. One of the things I need to work on is their search function sucks. You've had trouble searching for stuff. Actually, go to one of my recent videos that I posted, and you can find a link to my BitChute channel in the description for anyone who wants to go over there and see it.
I can just post it here in the description too after we're done. Yeah, I'll do that. I quickly want to say something. Daniel saw that in the chat is saying to me, this always comes up, when since I'm an atheist and you are a Christian and we sit together and we talk about stuff and we are quite cool with each other and we don't bash each other, then it always comes up how you should convert me to Christianity, or I should talk with you about how bad Christianity is, or I should beware not to become a Christian and all that stuff. So I just want to quickly I just want to quickly say, we talk, and there is no problem with sitting together. This is actually what should be happening. What should be happening is that an atheist and a Christian come together and reasonably talk about things, despite being in complete disagreement about their worldview and their beliefs. This is how it should be. There are a lot of people outside who don't think that this is possible because they believe person A believes in something, person B believes in something different, and they think I cannot sit together with person A and have a normal conversation because he believes in that, I believe in that. But that's just not how it's supposed to be. I don't think that way. David Wood doesn't think that way. Us sitting here together doesn't mean that I'm gonna attack his Christian beliefs, or I'm gonna make him an atheist, or that he's gonna convert me to Christianity and that I'm gonna be a Christian now and get baptized tomorrow. That's not how it's going to go. I will still not be a Christian at the end of this conversation. Some might find that great, others might find that sad.
No, that will take several conversations, but
no, I always go.
My view is it's if there are like 1,000 topics and we disagree on several of them, it doesn't mean we don't agree on others and that we can't agree on those other topics, or that because there are these couple topics that we disagree on, even if they're absolutely essential to our worldview and things like that, doesn't mean we can't agree on other things and acknowledge areas where we actually agree. There's a problem of recent political situations and what's going on in society that, this person thinks this, therefore he's your enemy, and you have to completely condemn him in every way. Look, if I'm in a room with AP and a Muslim, then if we're talking about Islam, me and AP are going to agree on a lot of things. And it's going to be AP and David agreeing on the problems of Islam. If the topic comes up of whether miracles are possible, then I would actually end up agreeing with the Muslim and disagreeing with AP, and it'd be a different conversation. If it came down to certain Christian issues and whether something is false in Christianity, the Muslim and AP might agree in criticizing that. So I don't see a problem here, ladies and gentlemen. There is not one single person in this entire world that I agree with everything on. None. Zero.
Absolutely. We both agree that the go.
Oh yeah, I was just going to point out that what's important is that we can actually still get along pretty well, because if we all just separate from everyone we have a disagreement with, then guess what? Nothing is ever going to get done in any way, right? You're never going to accomplish anything. You're never going to move forward in any way if we all just say, "Oh, I have to separate from everyone I disagree with."
Yeah, yeah. And if we ever have a huge problem, we'll end up having a cage fight. That's what we talked about before. David Wood and I are going to have a cage fight if it ever comes to a disagreement, and I will beat him. But,
that's funny.
But until then, we agree that the Quran is a horrible book, was terribly written, is extremely agonizing to read. It is so terrible. We agree that Muhammad was a very problematic character, to say the least. We agree that the Islamic belief is a belief that makes absolutely no sense, that is very, very ridiculous, and that often serves as a piece of comedy. But outside of that, we get along very well. So, dear Muslims, I hope you don't have a problem with that. Everything is fine. To my beliefs, I always said I have my reasons not to believe, and that's fine. I might soon even make a talk about that. Some people think I should talk with David Wood about this, but I just don't think we should be having that conversation. Like we shouldn't go down that road, because obviously I would that wouldn't end very well for David here, and I don't want to.
No, I'm sure if we did something like that, it would either be like private discussion, or
of course.
if we wanted to discuss something, it would actually be set up to where we would actually have a discussion of certain arguments for or against the existence of God, something like that. And guess what? We'd be friends before the conversation. We'd be friends after the conversation.
Absolutely.
And we still get along, because that's the kinds of guys we are.
Absolutely. Everything would be fine. So, where does the sun go at night, David?
Well, you've got it obviously goes under Allah's throne, but before that, then it goes in the pool. Goes in the pool way out west. So,
do we have a map for that, or?
No, I'd like to see some pictures, especially when you put it all together, all of the claims from the Quran and the Hadith and the Sirah literature. When you put all the claims about the universe together for Islam, you basically got down, way down at the bottom. You got that giant fish, and that fish kind of can rock around at points, and that's why when the fish gets agitated and rocks around, that's when you get earthquakes, because on top of the fish you have these 7 earths that are stacked up, but they're stacked up kind of like pancakes, but they each have a space in between them, which is a space of a 500-year journey. Now, you can interpret that, Muslims, however you want: a 500-year journey on foot, a 500-year journey by camel, whatever you want. But there are 7 earths. They're all flat, and then we live on the top earth, and then so we have the top earth, and in order to sort of steady the top earth when that fish gets agitated and starts rocking around, Allah put down mountains that function like tent pegs to sort of hold us in place. And so that's the purpose of the mountains there. And then you have, of course, the sun and the moon, which are kind of chasing each other around this top flat earth. And then the sun goes down into a pool and then comes up out of another pool way out east. And then on top of that, you have these kind of 7 domes that are like these solid structures, because according to the Quran, they would fall on you if Allah didn't hold them up. So you have these domes, and each one of these is another 500-year journey apart. And then so above the 7th dome, you have these 8 giant mountain goats, that each one of which is as tall as one of the universes, one of these dome structures. And then above that, you have, I think, a sea, and then above that, you have the throne of Allah. And so that's what you get when you put everything together about the universe. And then, you look at that, and this is supposed to be the miracle of Islam, that Muhammad got everything right. And you look at all that and you say, what did Muhammad get right here? The only things that he got right about the universe were things that any 6-year-old could have told. Yes, there is a sun. Oh, yes, there are stars. There are things like that. So the only things Muhammad got right were things that,
He didn't
again,
even
any
get that
6-year-old
right.
could have. Yeah. And then, like, the things he got wrong were every possible thing he could get wrong. Everything he could conceivably get wrong, he got wrong in every possible way. And so this is the main evidence that Islam is true. So if that's your main evidence, if your main evidence is this amazing picture of the universe, wow. And of course, the Muslim response is the miracle of reinterpretation, right? All of these crystal clear claims that are obviously false, you have to reinterpret those. And then you take all these vague claims that aren't saying much of anything, and you twist them into saying something about, modern science or something like that. And that's how Islam goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us all the information that we needed about the Islamic sky and sun. And I tried to help you here very well by showing where exactly what is. This is where the sun comes out. This is where it comes out. It rises over a people who had no protection against the sun at the time, and then this guy called Zulkarnain came along. He saw that they were exposed to the sun directly because they're very close to the sun because it comes out right here, and he made a barrier for them and so that they could protect themselves from the sun. And when Zulkarnain then walked over somewhere to the west, very very far, I don't know where. It could be here at the tip of the broom, or it could be over here at the tip of the broom, and that's where the sun goes into the muddy spring. What it most likely does is it performs the ablution, because in Islam you have to, before you prostrate yourself before Allah, before you pray, you have to perform the ablution and wash yourself. So the sun goes into the pool and washes itself, most likely. That's what happens there, and then it goes after that and directly prostrates itself under the throne of Allah. I don't know where that happens, how that happens, but after going here into this pool, it prostrates itself under the throne of Allah. And I'm trying to understand where and how exactly that happens. And I asked this question to Muslims in a video that I just made a few weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago or so. I just asked them, show me please, where exactly does the sun go? Where exactly does the sun prostrate itself under the throne of Allah? And they didn't give me a response to this, and I'm mad.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, here's the thing: you would assume that since the Earth is flat and the sun is going down into a pool way out west, that it's just going to go through the Earth and come out the other side.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the Earth, that Allah's throne must be there. But no, Allah's throne is way up above all the domes. So you need some sort of, hey, look, this could be, hey, I got it, AP. This could be the new Muslim argument, for the scientific miracle of the Quran, right? What does modern science teach us about? Wormholes. Wormholes, where something can be transported from one part of the universe to the other. So what we have, when the sun goes down, it actually goes into a wormhole and then appears under the throne of Allah, way up above the 7 domes. How could Muhammad know about wormholes in the 7th century if not for the miracle of Allah revealing this to him? That's your new argument right there. That's some Zakir Naik stuff right there.
We should actually put this down and make a video about this. Make a defense for Islam's for Islam's sun. You should make that, because they're not strong enough to do that. But it's funny that you say that. I recently, a Muslim apologist, actually made a response to my the scientific mistakes of the Quran video, which is an hour long. They made a response to that video and explained one of those points that I pointed out. No need to show the map anymore, although the broom is pretty nice here.
Was it a really good response?
Wait. I'm coming to that. So
are you willing to drop the point and not use it anymore because you've been refuted?
Most likely. But what they said What they said is, I brought up this issue with the Quran that it says Allah created the skies without a crack. Allah made the skies without any crack, any damage. The Quran says it, and I was pointing out how that makes no sense, because the sky is not a solid object that could have a crack or anything alike. So this Muslim apologist made a response to that point and said, well, we cannot know whether the sky could have a crack or a hole or not, because in the end there are wormholes. And
oh, nice.
And then they moved on, and I thought, wait, what?
and besides that, the epidemics of modern society is crack cocaine. How can Muhammad have known about crack all those centuries ago, apart from the miracle of Islam? Come on! You see how closed-minded you are, you bigot.
I know. I'm. I don't know. Maybe it's just. I'm following pseudoscience. Close-minded enemy of Islamic scientific progress. This is it. This is what I am. Thank you, David, for clarifying this and helping the Muslims make a point here. I'm sure Muslim Warrior here in the comment section will be very happy about that and will make a super chat based on that right now. Okay. So I didn't really plan on what to talk about. We were going to talk about some of the topics that we talked about recently, some of the Muslim apologists that have been trying to get to you and trying to insult you and attack you. Some people informed me that
who's doing that? I haven't been paying attention for for months, so I don't know what's going on. What I missed.
There's this kid who's kind of popular on YouTube. He has this annoying voice and this weird appearance. He has been trying to attract your attention by making a video about you recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like that thing, that Golem character. What was Ali Dawa, exactly. Ali Dawa made a video about you recently. I don't know if you've seen that.
I know who Ali Dawa is. Yeah.
You know that guy. Yeah. I have no idea who that is. But
I think I made one video response to him on the issue of Aisha, because I'm sure you're familiar with this, but Muslim apologists, once people start catching on, see, the first response is if you I'm talking about in recent years, if you bring up Muhammad and Aisha or something like that, the first response that Muslims were giving was, no, it never happened. Aisha was much older. Then people started, going through the Muslim sources and pointing out how absurd it is to deny what's in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim and Sunan Abu Dawud and all of their sources. It's everywhere. So then they started changing it, but they have to put some good spin on everything Muhammad does. So Ali Dawa was there in a video that someone sent me, and he was saying, yes, it's, Allah was trying to show through Muhammad that, you have to wait until puberty. And so anyway, in the video, I just pointed out, one, Aisha hadn't reached puberty according to the Muslim sources. So that's one. And two, no, that's just wrong, right? I mean, and really, I haven't pointed out in much detail the problem with that. They don't seem to understand. They have this mentality: old enough to bleed, old enough to breed.
Exactly.
Like the second you get your period, then that means you're ready for marriage and having children, and that's nonsense. That's the sign that you have started puberty is normally that you start getting pubic hair and so on, and then sometime after that, you generally a woman will get her first period. But those are the beginnings of the process, right? Then you have this longer stage where your hips start to widen, your birth canal widens, you grow, right? You grow into a woman, and that takes the next few years. So, but their mindset of, nope, you got your period, you're ready to go. This has led to all kinds of problems in the Muslim world, because guess what? You got your first period, you can get pregnant. and your hips have not widened yet, and you're not ready for it, and all of a sudden, you need C-sections and so on. And guess what? For 14 centuries, that was not as easy as it might be in a place like America today. If you're having a problem, you can go to the hospital and get a C-section pretty easily. Back in the day, no, you died, and all of that thanks to Muhammad.
I had a recent Muslim apologist who went very, very far into these discussions about Aisha and her age at marriage, and about how times were different, about how that was not a mistake at all, how we in modern times perceive that as an issue. The thing is, the final thing that he said about this entire problem, about the age of Aisha and child marriage, was something along the lines of like, I don't understand how these Islamophobes are misrepresenting me and others, because they call it child rape. How is it child rape if the parents consent to it?
Wow. Yeah, I've seen other. I used to have a video on my blog where a Muslim scholar was talking trash about America, and he goes, "Did you know that in America you can rape your wife?"
Yeah.
And that sounds like, oh my goodness, what is he saying? It's okay to rape your wife in America? And he's about to condemn it. He goes, "How can you rape your wife? You have a right to do with her what you want, right?" So he's pointing out that in America, your wife has a right to refuse, and you can't force yourself upon. You would go to jail if you forced yourself upon your wife. And he's pointing out that in Islam, no, that can't happen. And so it's just, but it's the same idea. It's hey, your parents said it's okay, so how can it be rape? Well, you agreed to marry the guy, so how can it be rape?
Yeah.
So. Lovely. This is the other miracle, right? So you got the scientific miracle, and then you have this moral miracle. Moral miracle of how did Muhammad come up with the greatest moral system of all time?
You know what I find funny though? I find it. I just enjoyed whenever we talk about this topics like these, about the whole child marriage thing, especially if Muslim apologists get involved and try to make a point, try to defend Islam from our criticism. I actually get a kick out of this when they make these defenses, these arguments in defense of Islam, and try to argue that Muhammad's marriage to Aisha was no problem at all. Actually, every second that we spend talking about this is totally is good. It doesn't do them any favors. It is good for us. It makes our point, because every second we argue about this, we are actually we are talking about Islam, and what we are talking about is child marriage, child rape. People who see these discussions, people who come from outside and sit down and see these discussions, see that we are talking about Islam, and people who defend Islam defend child marriage and try to explain child marriage. So really, every second that we spend talking about this topic is a second well spent for our cause, for the criticism of Islam, in order to enlighten the world about what a bizarre thing we're dealing with.
Yeah, and it always, any topic you're going to bring up where all of the responses involve deception, or just a huge moral problem, right? Because again, the first response is no, she was much older than that. And then it's, Muhammad was waiting for her to reach puberty when, again, she hadn't reached puberty. Or even if we granted that, even if we pretended that she had reached puberty, the response is, you see, he was trying to show everyone that you have to wait for puberty, in which case he did the worst job ever, because it doesn't say that she'd reached puberty. And all the sources we have say that she hadn't. And in the Quran, Surah 65, verse 4, it allows sex with prepubescent girls, allows you to marry a girl, have sex with her, and divorce her all before the age of puberty. So again, if Allah is trying to make a point about not having sex until a girl has reached puberty, then he did a really, really horrible job. Not surprising, since according to Muslims, Allah is the worst communicator of all time. And then, beyond all that, even if you granted all of that, it's still medically false that once a girl has reached puberty, then she's ready to get pregnant. No. Her body is developing. She needs at least another few years to grow into a woman. So everything they're saying is wrong. Everything they're saying is false. And as a rule, if everything you can, if everything you have to say in order to defend your prophet is false, that is a problem worth addressing over and over and over again.
Yep, yep. And we shouldn't even be discussing whether consent played a role in this or not. But the funny thing is, if we really wanted to go to sink to that level and talk about that for a second, it wasn't really consent. It was basically Muhammad telling them that he saw her in his dream, and that basically that this was an instruction by Allah. That Allah wanted this marriage to happen. So there couldn't really have any objection have happened. This was basically Muhammad forcing this to happen, and which is not uncommon. Because we also see in later sources during his marriage to Zainab, for example, who is who was married to his son-in-law. Yeah, I'm sorry, to his adopted son. I did it again. I confuse that.
I'm still confused. I confuse stepson and son-in-law all the time. So I have to actually stop and think. Wait, which one's which?
Yeah, I do that too. I don't know. Something goes wrong there with the wires. But we also see there in that narration that after the marriage happens, or while it is happening, he says something like that if Allah and His Messenger have decided something, then the people have to follow it and to obey, and that they cannot object. He basically says that about his marriage to Zainab. So there is a pattern. This is not an uncommon thing. Muhammad has this habit, or if you believe in Islam, you could say it is normal in Islam that Allah does it. But if you look from the outside, Muhammad clearly has this habit of forcing these marriages. Yeah, very, very disgusting things to talk about.
Hey, look! Muslim Warrior there says Jesus is gay, never married. You see this? These guys they claim to respect Jesus, and the first opportunity they'll start attacking him. Lovely religion there, and that really makes a point, because you can kind of tell, right, that Islam claims to respect all of these things and respect God and respect the prophets and so on, but as soon as you start digging below that surface of, oh yeah, we respect all these guys, you find blasphemous nonsense about everyone, and Muhammad is the one glorified. Everyone else is somehow put down as completely incompetent or a fool or something like that.
It is so ridiculous. I made a thing recently. I don't know if you've seen it. I made a video called "The Cult of Muhammad." I basically tried to explain how Islam is built around venerating and literally worshipping, or virtually worshipping, Muhammad, and putting him above all the others, which is a concept that has never existed in Abrahamic religion. And I mentioned it there too, that Muslims are supposed to take these prophets as people who just call them to God, to call them to worship and to obedience and this and that. But they go far beyond that and put Muhammad above everyone else and virtually worship him. And I saw so many responses from Muslims and Muslim apologists saying, well, how could you say that? We respect all of them. We definitely respect all of the prophets. Muhammad doesn't. Muhammad is of course a little bit special, but it's all just talk. It's all just nonsense. It is literally a cult of Muhammad. That's what's happening there, and that is completely inconsistent with Islam's own theology, which claims that Jews and Christians have worshipped their priests, and that Christians went astray and worship a prophet. And then Islam comes along, supposedly calling people to putting all kinds of veneration and everything aside and concentrating on God. But then it demands everyone to not only to follow, not only to believe in Allah, not only to testify that there is no Allah, no God but Allah, but also to testify that Muhammad is the truth. And that Muhammad is perfect, that you need to follow Muhammad, that you need to obey Muhammad, that you need to take his words as fundamental laws for every part of your life. It is there. It is just undeniable, and it's so obvious from the outside. So it really looks hilarious when Muslims make these defenses.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct, and you pointed out Surah 33, verse 36. So that's the chapter where you have the issue of Muhammad and Zainab. It's the same chapter where adoption is abolished in order to justify Muhammad taking his adopted son's wife, since that was frowned upon by everyone in all of history. It's the same chapter where you have Muhammad getting this revelation. Hey guys, I'm getting a revelation from Allah here. Allah says, hey, if you come over to Muhammad's house, don't be hanging out and asking questions, because he doesn't like that, but he's not going to tell you because he's too shy. But Allah's not shy, so Allah's giving me a revelation. Quit hanging out at my house all night asking me questions when I got all these wives I need to bone, right? So that's the same there, and it's the same chapter where Allah says that yes, other Muslims have to obey this 4-wife limit, but Muhammad doesn't. He gets to have as many as he wants, right? So it's a very, very perverted chapter, and this is probably the chapter where you had the verse about breastfeeding an adult, and where you had a passage about stoning adulteresses, because this is where those verses were eaten by Aisha's sheep. But Aisha was the one who pointed out that Surah 33 originally contained 200 verses, but 2/3 of it were lost. And so just imagine all the perverted stuff we have in Surah 33, all the horrible perverted stuff we have in Surah 33, and 2/3 of it is missing because Muhammad's wives started making sure that a lot of this stuff came up missing. If the stuff we still have is that sick, you can imagine what the rest of it must have said. But in Surah 33, verse 36, I believe, is where you have to obey Allah and Muhammad.
Yeah.
But chapter 4, verse 65 as well. If you disagree with Muhammad, if you disagree with any of his decisions, you're not a real Muslim, according to Surah 4, verse 65. And so just think about this. And then Muhammad comes along, and by the way, it says you have to submit to him with full submission. So notice, we're told, hey, Islam is the religion of submission. It just means submission, man. You want to submit to God, don't you? Yeah, but actually follow the real message. You can only submit to Allah by submitting to Muhammad. Yeah. That's how do you submit to Allah? By submitting to Muhammad and obeying everything he says about how to walk and how to talk and how to think and how to eat and how to go to the bathroom and all these little details and how to shave your pubes and all these things you have to do. You have to obey Muhammad in all of these things, and that's how you know you've submitted to Allah. Well, guess what? This is a paradigm. This is a paradigm case of a cult, a man-centered cult. It does better than lots of other cults because it does a better job masquerading and pretending it's all about Allah. So, oh yes, we're all about Allah, but you have to do everything this guy says and obey him in every way and follow him in every way and never disagree with him about anything. I mean, just imagine how obviously ridiculous that is. If someone comes along and says, hey, you believe in God, right? You want to submit to God? Yes. Well, do everything I say in every way. And you're not a real believer, and you will be killed for disagreeing with me on anything. Now, but it's all about God, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about God. If it were really all about God, you wouldn't need Muhammad, other than to just tell a particular group, hey, believe in God. So obviously a Muhammadocentric religion there.
It is in the creed. It is in the Shahada. The creed that you have to say in order to be part of this religion, in order to be considered a Muslim. When you make the creed that everyone has to say in order to be considered a Muslim, you say that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Why do you say that if it's only about Allah? And I love to bring this up, but what can Islam give to a Jew? What are you going to say to a Jew? What will you say? You're following the wrong religion. You're supposed to believe in one God. Well, I do believe in one God. Well, okay, but you're also supposed to accept Muhammad. What fantastic. Why would a Jew listen to you?
Yeah, and you bring up the Muhammad in the Shahada. What's interesting is the Sabians. The Sabians were a monotheistic group of the time, and they already had a Shahada that was La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. Yeah. So that was already being recited by a group at the time. So Muhammad actually adds on, and Muhammad. You need to toss Muhammad in there. Why? Why wasn't that a perfectly good Shahada. There is no God but Allah. Why wasn't that good enough? Why do you need to attack Muhammad on there if this religion is really about God?
You know what this reminds me of? I like to believe that Muhammad wasn't as sick as it turned out eventually. I believe that in the beginnings he actually thought he was doing something. You know, he was doing something good, something nice, that he actually had a purpose. And in the beginnings he thought that what these polytheists in his surroundings with their weird, wicked practices were doing was wrong, and he had to call them to something better and change society for the better. And he liked monotheism. He liked Abrahamic religion. He liked how Jews and Christians practiced their religions, and he attempted to change his society into that as well. But in the end, he ended up first calling them to God, and then making all of them slaves of himself. And this just reminds me of numerous examples from history where we see political figures, political leaders who want to change society for the better, and claim that we are all being oppressed. We are being mistreated. We need to do something. You need to help me, so I rise up and make this society better, and I will give you better rights. I will give you better circumstances, and this and that. And then you raise this figure up and make them a controller, a ruler of your society, and then he has too much power and starts being ruthless and being all that evil that he has propagated against before. Then he starts controlling everybody and being a tyrant, expecting obedience from everybody, making sure that no one can ever get rid of him, and all that stuff. That's what Muhammad reminds me of. Muhammad reminds me of the communist dictators who rose to power by claiming that they were being oppressed, and everyone was living in very poor circumstances, and they would be the ones who would make everything better, who would make society better, who would help. And then they rose to power and they started oppressing everyone, being tyrants and turning themselves into gods. And that's basically what Muhammad did too, just in a different part of history, in a different way.
Yeah, if communism had been able to convince everyone that God was on their side, and that everything they were doing was, going around and subjugating people and crushing people and killing people, if that was all actually the will of God in their new religion, they might have actually won. They might have actually won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's communist. It can give you an advantage, right? Like if Muhammad goes out and he says, "Hey guys, we're gonna go over there. We're gonna kill all these dudes. We're gonna take all their stuff. We're gonna rape all their women. We're gonna enslave everyone who's left. Who's with me?" That has been a powerful message for many civilizations down through history, for many tribes. That's been a powerful message. If you add something to that message, oh, and by the way, God wants us to do with that. God loves us when we go kill all these people, take all their stuff, rape all their women, and then if you die while you're doing that, you go to paradise and you get even more women, virgins, that you get to spend all eternity deflowering, and Allah is going to bless you with an eternal erection, so you never have to stop. It's wonderful. You add that to the message, and wow, that is going to spread really, really rapidly, because it appeals to all the worst parts of human nature.
And they have big eyes and big breasts, and they have very, very white skin, and they even have transparent skin. You can see their bones through their skin. What kind of?
I need to break that up in one of these videos about Muhammad being obsessed with whiteness as the most beautiful. Like so white you can see right through it. Right, so white it's invisible. Nasty.
It is incredible.
And you can see the marrow of their bones.
Yeah.
I want to see some chick's bone marrow. What the heck? Anyway.
I still want to make a video. I still want to make a sketch where we play Muhammad, and Muhammad basically promises to one of his followers all these, how these virgins in heaven will have all these features, and he listens to what men want, and he tells them exactly what they want. That's probably how it went. I mean, how could you possibly believe? I was a Muslim back then, and I was told from a very young age. I don't remember. I don't want to do it injustice. I don't want to say it was as a child, but I remember that I was being that I learned very early that that after our death in heaven we would receive virgins. You know,
Hmm.
that is messed up. I was probably still a child. I was probably at least an early teenager or something, and I learned that after I die, and if I'm righteous, then I will go to heaven, and I will get virgins from my Allah in heaven. How do you think that made me think about women? How do you think that made me think about sex? It is extremely absurd.
Oh, and by the way, for the ladies who are watching, especially Muslim ladies who are watching, keep in mind that your husband still has you as his wife in paradise, but you'll be competing with all these specially designed sex machines. So there's that. But so think about how this works, right? So you got a couple of different kinds of men here, and some men you say, hey, if you die serving Allah, doing what he says, then you have a pretty good chance of going to paradise, and you're going to get all these virgins, and you're going to get to spend eternity deflowering virgins. Isn't that what you want, right? And some guys will say, yeah, especially they've been conditioned to think this way about women and girls. And so some guys are like, yeah. And then some guys are like, what? That's what all this is about. That's the end game. That's the end of the road for people who really want to focus on God their entire lives, is we're going to spend eternity deflowering virgins. And for those guys, no, it really means grapes and raisins. That's what it means when you get these houris in heaven and so on. So, okay, so it's not talking about any perverted stuff. When it talks about your virgins with swelling breasts, it really means grapes with swelling breasts and raisins with swelling breasts. That's what it really means. And so some guys are like, oh, okay, there, but some people are like, no, this doesn't make any sense. This is just, there's something wrong with all of this. And then those guys, you just chop their heads off, unless you can get somewhere where they can't chop your head off. So we're all glad that you made it someplace where you're not going to get your head chopped off, AP.
Yeah. Why would you get grapes in heaven? Why would Allah promise you grapes?
72 of them, baby. 72 of them. Don't eat them all at once, because you're not getting any more. It's your your eternal ration of grapes.
Someone said, do they change colors? Do you mean the grapes or the virgins? The thing is, you said women would be competing with those virgins in the sky. It comes up, women ask this question, or you ask this question. As a man, you ask this question, well, okay, but what about your wife? You have, especially in today's times, if you grow up in today's times where it becomes increasingly normal that you have one wife, and even in many Muslim communities, it becomes normal that, by perverted Western standards, that you actually like a woman, and then and then have a marriage with this woman, and you don't have 4 wives, you only have 1 wife. Of course, this question comes up. Well, won't the wife be jealous? And then there's this common explanation, which is, well, you will be in heaven, and in heaven you won't have jealousy. You will not feel jealousy, so you'll be fine. Okay, your husband will be having sex with all those numerous virgins, and you will be hanging around doing some whatever you do in the sky, and you won't be jealous. So everything will be good. Yeah. I was at a point, I was part of Sufism, of mysticism, and it is quite different from the popular fundamentalist, traditionalist, literalist version of Islam that is going around, that online Muslim apologists are usually a part of. So in my Islam, in my religiosity, my peaks of religiosity, my religiosity was more focused on the spiritual side, on controlling myself, on being in love with God. It's kind of a Christianization of Islam, kind of. And
No. But by the way, that fits everything. See, if you're all obsessed with your virgins, then then yeah, that's what Islam teaches. And if you think there's something wrong with that, then hey, it's about grapes. And if you still got a problem with that, don't apostatize, become a Sufi, spiritualize everything, and hope that the Salafis don't come and kill you.
Exactly. No exaggeration. As a Sufi, you basically learn that the Salafis hate you, and that they could possibly kill you if they had the power to, if they were able to. You basically grow up hating each other. The Sufis hate the Salafis hate the Sufis. But if you grow up as a Sufi, you learn that they hate you. And you should be beware of them, but you actually hate them too. So it's weird. Growing up as a Muslim, you don't only hate others, you also hate your own people. But I had this thing where. I came to a point where I actually thought, where I was coming to the ends of believing in this religion, of slowly letting it go. But I was also still very religious and still in love with what I was believing in, and I was thinking so much to myself, maybe I can make the choice, and then maybe I don't have to get virgins. Maybe I don't have to receive virgins. Maybe I can say, Allah, I don't necessarily want that. So. Thank you, anyways, for the offer. Thank you for thinking about that, but I really don't need that. That's what I want, and that was a point actually where I thought, where I looked back later and thought, am I more virtuous than Allah? Are so many people that I know more virtuous than Allah? I wasn't the only one. I knew many other people who didn't really like the fantasy of going to heaven and getting all these bunch of virgins and having sex with them all day and walking around with a constant erection. And it looked like those people were healthier in their head than the God they believed in. And yeah, which is why this is a good topic to actually bring up every now and then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Allah did want to sort of like give you what you want, he could say, well, you like making videos, so you can be the one who records all these guys deflowering all their virgins. I mean, if paradise is really basically one big brothel and Allah is the ultimate cosmic pimp, then, I mean, it stands to reason they're going to need some videographers, because if we're just appealing to the flesh of human beings and human men, then they're going to want all their porn too. So you can do that. Does that make you happy?
I'll accept that. That's a good point.
See, come back to Islam, baby. Come back to Islam. Allah has a place for you.
That's awesome. I never thought of that. Yeah. So everyone, by the way, I'm looking at the chat. I'm nodding. I'm reading. The thing is, I'm using a different software than I actually wanted to use. So I don't really have a good overview of the super chat. Normally, I use software that tells me that directly shows me the past super chats, what all of them said, and so on. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability here right now, which is why it is very hard for me to keep track of the super chat. So if there were questions and I missed those, then I am really deeply sorry. Normally, I really try to keep track of that. Next time it will definitely be better, because I'll try a different software. This time I was just forced to use something that I originally didn't want to use. But I appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate all the comments, all the compliments. And please like the video, smash the like button, and share this chat with your neighbors and your friends and your relatives and your grandparents and grandchildren and everyone you think will benefit from this talk about Islam. Anyways, that's it. Go on, David.
I'll respond to a comment, just because I've been like giggling myself silly watching this guy post over and over and over again like 90 times. David Neptune says, David, please respond. Would you be willing to debate Matt Dillahunty? Yes. Like I've said that like 1,000 times when in all kinds of live streams people say, would you be willing to debate Matt Dillahunty? Yes. So there are plenty of colleges across the country. There are plenty of Christian groups in those colleges, there are plenty of atheist groups in those colleges. So find a college with a Christian group and an atheist group that want to sponsor a debate, and that's kind of all it takes. So yes, I agree. All right, carry on.
Okay, Muslim warrior keeps saying that I have a I have a nose like an elephant trunk. I don't really see that, Muslim warrior. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. But that is unfortunate for not for me. It's actually very interesting that you are attempting to insult the creation of your God, of Allah.
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing?
And what's even funnier is when any any keyboard jihadi starts insulting like my friends, like my natural inclination is never to insult back. It's my natural inclination is just to blast your prophet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is to blast and make fun of your prophet. So Muslim warrior. Well, one thing we didn't really talk about when we're talking about the structure of the universe is Allah's claim that stars are missiles that he uses to shoot demons when they try to sneak into paradise. So if we're talking about miracles of the Quran, how did Allah know all those years ago in the 7th century that when you see a shooting star shoot across the sky, it's actually a star that Allah hurled at a demon, and that it's you have these demons out there, but a star can actually be hurled at them, and that's what you see. So when you see it shooting across the sky, it's because Allah hurled a star at a demon. Now the modern astronomers and so on, they're going to tell you that it's a rock that collided with the Earth's atmosphere, and that a shooting star is not actually a star. But that just shows you, man. It shows you how Allah knows better than even modern scientists.
Modern scientists have no idea what they're talking about.
How could Allah know? How could Muhammad know? Far more than all modern scientists who are getting everything wrong, unless it were actually from God.
Yeah.
This is amazing stuff. This is more proof that the guy who tried to set a moral example for everyone in history by climbing on top of a 9-year-old girl, that this guy was just right about everything, including science and the sun setting in a muddy pool and everything else.
Yeah.
Why did you go down to? Oh, he's focusing on your nose. What's wrong with you, man?
I don't.
Is that an elephant trunk there? What kind of weird?
I have no idea.
Who uses a weird special effect like that?
Yeah, I find my nose quite interesting. Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like a trunk though. I don't know what your problem is. Muslim warrior, be an example, be a morally sublime example to all these morally wicked, inferior, disrespectful, non-Muslim infidels out there. Do something. Be an exemplary person. Let the world say, "Oh, look, this guy is a Muslim warrior. He has such great morals. Maybe I should be a Muslim too."
In other words, Muslim warrior, try to be like 1,000 million times better than your prophet was, because you got to be way. The vast majority of Muslims are already vastly morally superior to their prophet and their God. But if you want to actually impress us, impress people, make people say, "Wow, what a great religion," you're going to have to be like 100 million times better than Muhammad. Yeah. Because when people see the truth about your prophet, boy, they can't get out of there fast enough. Yeah. Unless you're ISIS, in which case you just love it.
Yeah. All right. Did you see my thing about? Did I mention this about Yahweh?
What?
Yahweh and.
Oh yeah. That was classic.
Yeah.
There are lots of interesting issues to bring up with the sort of like Muhammad taking things and not knowing what they mean, because he didn't know what those names mean and things like that, and he didn't know what kind of problems this causes and so on. But you have similar things in other areas. Like I've been wanting to make one about the Injil, right? Because Muslims all the time want to say, "Oh, it's a problem. See, you've got these Gospels in there in Greek, man, not in Hebrew." Well, the word Injil goes back, the word Injil. So if anyone's new here, the word Injil is the word in the Quran that's used for the gospel of Jesus. But Injil is an Arabic word that goes back ultimately to the Greek word euangelion, right? Because it's a transliteration. In different languages, you don't have the same letters and you don't always have the same sounds, and so you can sort of you do the best you can in mapping one word onto another language. But Injil goes back to the Greek word euangelion. So So if it's supposed to all be in Hebrew, why did Jesus bring a book with a Greek title? So that's issue one. But aside from that, it's the word euangelion, like our word gospel, means good news. So it would talk about Jesus preaching the good news. And so as a Muslim, if Jesus brought the Injil, you could say, oh, well, that makes sense. He brought the good news. But here's the problem. Here's the problem I wanted to draw attention, apart from that sort of linguistic issue. During the first century, in the Jewish and Greco-Roman context, euangelion did not mean just any kind of good news. It meant a specific kind of good news, right? It didn't mean like, oh, I found a quarter. I found a quarter on the ground. What good news? This is the euangelion. Yeah. No, it was a particular kind of good news. And in its Greco-Roman context, it referred to either a new emperor ascending to the throne, a new emperor taking over. And so this was the proclamation that this new emperor who was going to bring peace, that was the good news, the euangelion, or a tremendous military victory over the pagans, right? The barbarians. Like if the Roman legions went out and conquered an invading barbarian horde, then they would come back with the announcement, and the announcement was the euangelion, the good news of this great victory. So that's how it was a specific kind of good news, referring to a new king rising to power or to a tremendous military victory. That's its Greco-Roman context. It's biblical, it's Jewish context. It referred to it's actually used in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, and it referred to the news that God's people were being brought back out of captivity. So they're being released from their captivity and coming back to their land, and to God returning to be enthroned over his people. So follow me now, Muslims. You've got the Jewish meaning of euangelion, how they use the term good news, and for them it's more of a religious context. So they're thinking in terms of God redeeming his people from captivity and God becoming enthroned over his people once again after letting them go because of their rebellion. And in its Greco-Roman context, it refers again to a new emperor rising to power or to a tremendous military victory. Here's the problem. If the core of Jesus' message, according to Islam, was this good news, and the term goes back to from Injil goes back to euangelion, then you're granting in the title used by Allah that the core of Jesus' message has to do with these collections of four things. That it's about a new king becoming enthroned over the empire, a tremendous military victory being won against the forces of evil, God redeeming his people from captivity and becoming enthroned over them once again. What in the name of common sense does that have to do with what Jesus actually did according to Islam? Yeah. What did Jesus get done? He showed up, he's born of a virgin, he performs a lot of miracles, and then Allah takes him away. His followers all come to believe that he's Lord and he died on the cross for their sins, and they start the world's largest false religion, Christianity. Yeah. Where's the victory? Where's the new kingdom? Where's God redeeming his people from captivity? Where's God becoming enthroned over his people? Notice, all of the meanings of euangelion have a perfect meaning according to Christianity. That's why they use the term. Jesus defeated the forces of darkness. There is a new king because there's the kingdom of God. God has redeemed his people from captivity, and God has returned to be enthroned over his people. All of this makes perfect sense in Christianity. None of that makes any sense whatsoever given what Muslims claim about Jesus. And so the name of the book that you're claiming that Jesus brought makes no sense given what you believe about Jesus. And so even the name of the book just refutes your entire religion.
It is. It is. I was recently talking with my wife about how it doesn't make any sense that, as obvious as said before, I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the biblical tradition, the biblical religion, and all that stuff. But even from a completely objective point of view, as an outsider, if you look at the history of Abrahamic religion and of Islam, it makes absolutely no sense that Islam accepts Jesus as a legitimate character, as sent by God, as truthful as the truth. Because, as you said, there is really no reason for Jesus to be called, to be called the Messiah in Islam, to have brought the good news, the Injil in Islam. There is absolutely no point to this at all. So what apparently happened is that Muhammad found Christianity quite interesting, quite nice. Found Christians. He looked up to Christians. He liked the character of Jesus. So he adopted Christianity into his religion, when it does not make any sense, when it completely destroys the narrative, the theology, the consistency of Islam to adopt Jesus and to make Jesus a character. What is Jesus supposed to have done? What is Jesus doing in Islam at all? There is no reason to call him a Messiah even. Islam doesn't even have a concept of the Messiah. The Quran calls Jesus the Messiah, but no Muslim out there understands what the Messiah is, what the Messiah is supposed to do, what the function of the Messiah is, why we call Jesus the Messiah. If you go out and ask these bunch of Muslim apologists here in the chat or anywhere, they have no clue why we call Jesus the Messiah in Islam, because it does not make any sense. It is completely consistent with the theology of Christianity to call Jesus the Messiah. It does not make any sense at all in Islam. It is completely stupid. It is completely ridiculous. And Muhammad obviously had no idea what he was doing when he adopted Christianity, when he adopted Jesus as a character, and then asserted that the Jews that he was only a prophet who brought a message and Jews rejected him and killed him. That's what he said. What exactly did he come to do? According to Islam, these prophets come and sorry, I just saw something in the live chat. These prophets basically come and inform the people that they have to return to the truth and focus on God and believe in God, in the one God, and worship Allah. What exactly did Jesus come to do according to Islam? There is nothing for him. There was nothing for him to do. There was nothing for him that he could have done.
Except announce that Muhammad was coming.
Yeah, except that. So why exactly is Jesus such an important character in Islam? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how Islam says, "Oh, we respect all of these guys," but as soon as you dig below the surface, you find just complete blasphemy. If you respect Jesus, I mean, think about this. Muslims will say, "Oh yeah, we respect him because we believe he's born of a virgin. We believe he performed all these miracles, and we believe that God wouldn't even allow him to be killed, and we believe he's the Messiah." And you start digging a little deeper, and wait a minute, this guy's born of a virgin. He lives the most miraculous life in history, and then he couldn't even win one single lasting convert, not one. Like, he won all these converts according to the Quran, but these guys all fell away and were overpowered by the Apostle Paul, and the message was totally corrupted. And all that you have by the time Jesus is done, you only had two kinds of people. You had people who were bowing down and worshiping him as Lord, and you had people who rejected him. All the people bowing down and worshiping him as Lord, according to Islam, they're all going to hell. All the people who rejected him, they're all going to hell. So everyone's going to hell. That's the result of what Jesus did. And then we have to wait 6 centuries for Muhammad to come along to fix this giant mess that Jesus made. And these guys are claiming that they respect Jesus. Islam is one massive insult to Jesus. And notice that is exactly what you would expect. You can't expect this, AP, because you're an atheist. But from a Christian perspective, where we're taught that there is this core message, the gospel, and that false teachers and false prophets are actually going to come along and they're going to corrupt this message. This is my goodness, you couldn't be a more perfect false prophet than Muhammad. I mean, he
Yeah.
comes along. Yes, I agree with you on God. I agree with you on Jesus. I agree with you on the virgin birth. I agree with you on the miracles. I agree that he's the Messiah. I agree with you on everything, except he's actually the biggest failure ever at anything. He accomplished nothing. He was given every single blessing by God, all the miracles. He had it all and couldn't win one lasting convert, unlike Muhammad, who won a ton of them. You see how Muhammad is superior? Come on, guys.
You see, 600 years passed between Jesus and Muhammad. Supposedly, Jesus was supposed to be was supposed to bring the true message of Allah, and he brought it. And by every evidence, by every proof ever, he failed. According to Islam, according to Islam, Jesus was a complete failure. I'm planning a series on that. Actually, I want to make a work that is titled "The Failed Messiah." Or the failed Jesus, because that's literally what Islam depicts Jesus as. That's the only logical outcome that you have, that Jesus was sent by Allah, and then he completely failed because no one after Jesus took the Islamic message from him and followed him correctly. And you see, even if you cannot follow history back that long, even if you cannot go to 400 to 500 or 600 years before Islam, you can at least see 300 to 400 years into the past before Islam came along. So before Muhammad and his Quran came along, the Christians who lived in his time, in Muhammad's time, and the Christians who lived after his time were the same Christians theologically that lived before him, were the same Christians that lived 200 years or 300 years before him. They were all, according to Islamic standards, misled and wicked and were wrong and would by Islamic standards, after the coming of Muhammad, go to hell. So Christians were around 200 years before Muhammad and believed that Jesus was God and worshipped him, followed the Gospels, the New Testament. Then Muhammad came along, and Muhammad claimed that he brought the true message and that Christians and Jews were corrupted and that they had to follow him now because this is the moment that Allah corrects everything. Okay, but what about all the Christians that just lived 50 years before you? What about all the Christians that lived 100 years, 150 years, 200 years before you, 250 years before you? What exactly was the point of that? What happens to those people? Those people never heard of Muhammad because there was no such person. There was no Quran. They never received any positive any of this stuff that Muhammad and the Quran are supposed to have brought into the world. They were, by Islamic standards, misled. Why are they forgiven now by Islamic standards, but all the Christians that came after Islam and who reject Islam, who reject Muhammad and the Quran, why do they suddenly go to hell? It doesn't make any sense at all. This is completely inconsistent.
Got some problems there. Good.
What?
I was just saying, they got some problems there.
Yeah. So there's been a super chat that I want to catch quickly before it goes away. Hindu historian said, "What do you think is the best way I can open someone's eyes to the reality of what a danger Islam is to a person who is firmly convinced that any criticism of Islam is racism and bigotry?" Thank you for the super chat, Hindu historian. It depends on whether you're talking about someone who is a Muslim or who is not a Muslim. What do you say, David?
Depending on what kind of person you're talking to. I'm normally, if you're trying not to flip someone out. In lots of my videos, I don't care if I'm flipping someone out, but how I talk in my video is very different from how I would talk to a person one-on-one. If I were talking to some person that I just met, I'm not going to start blasting away on the issue of Aisha or something like that. One thing I do if I'm talking to someone and I'm not trying to upset them or something like that, especially if they're the sort of person who's going to start freaking out about racism or something like that, is I would normally run the conversation by questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What would you think if such and such and such and such? If I wanted to get some information into a person's head, especially if this is a Muslim or someone who thinks he knows Islam or she knows Islam, something that you could do is, let's say you take an article from Answering Islam on Aisha. So let's say you wanted to get the information about Aisha into someone's head, but you're not trying to upset them at that point. You say, look, um, you 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 understand Islam. I was wondering what you think about this issue. See, I was reading this article, and it's about Muhammad and Aisha, but it's written by an atheist, or it's written by a Christian. Or you can go with a video. You can say, I was watching this video by this guy who calls himself the Apostate Prophet. He's a real jerk. He's super insulting. He's condescending, but he's giving lots of sources. So I was wondering if you could watch that video and give me your perspective, because I don't just want this angry atheist perspective. I would like to get a variety of perspectives, because I'm diverse in my thinking and I want a variety of different views and so on. I especially would like the Muslim views. So I was wondering if you could watch this argument that he makes and these sources that he gives and give me your response to it. Notice there's nothing to get offended about, right? Any offense will be they're angry at the apostate prophet, but you haven't said anything, right? You've asked for some information from this person. You've asked, hey, I would like your perspective on this issue. And so I would kind of take that approach if I, didn't want to upset someone. I would ask could you give me your feedback on what the Quran says here? And notice you don't have to put AP or me or anything else in there. You can. But if you wanted to just pull out the sources, you could say, hey, I was wondering, what do you think about this Quran verse right here? What do you think this means? And then just whatever they say, then ask another question. Notice if you just keep asking questions, you have not put your foot down and attacked anything or condemned anything. You've just been asking questions, and you've been asking for this other person's perspective. But guess what? After you do that a few times, after you say, hey, what do you think this means right here? When it says right here in the hadith that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. Could you? And by the way, I wouldn't even say that, right? I would just say, hey, I was wondering what you think about this. Could you read this? Put it right in front of them. Let them read it, right? You haven't said anything. So what do you think about that? What do you think that means? And then they'll give their response, and then just ask another question. So, so you think you think that's okay because it's a different culture? So would you say that it could be okay, and depending on the time that it's okay to have sex with a 9-year-old girl in certain contexts and stuff like that? If you just keep asking questions, they're gonna be so desperate. The sort of person you're talking about is gonna be so desperate to defend Islam that they're just gonna keep burying themselves with nonsense, right? And just let them do it. Just keep asking questions. Just keep leading them down that trail of their own defense, and then just, wow, okay, well, that's interesting. I wouldn't say that, but okay, thank you very much, and leave. And then guess what? Now they're going to be walking away going, whoa, I'm freaking defending sex with prepubescent girls. My goodness, right? And let it eat away at them. Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Mm-hmm. I think you said pretty much everything. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything specific that you want to talk about, David, or do you think we should slowly look to end this?
Yeah, we should probably be wrapping up. We could do it again. We need to get to the point where we're we do this like once a week.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking, it would be good, since people basically have been supporting us on Patreon for a while and stuff like that, where we can ask people on Patreon, hey, if you have any questions you'd like to address, bring them up here in Patreon, and we take a screenshot of it, and then we can respond to the questions and things like that. Any topics they'd like us to cover, we can respond to those live, and do that for first part of a live stream, and then for the next part, open it up to everything from the chat, and that way,
Yep, absolutely. We could do that. We decided so often to make it every week, to make it more often, but something happens. It doesn't work out. We should really do that. This is really great. I truly enjoy having these talks. Sometimes I feel kind of uncomfortable going live by myself, but when we can sit here and talk together, it just goes very well. I enjoy that. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much for your comments, for your compliments, for your participation, for liking the live chat, for being here, for existing, for being born, and all that stuff. Let me see that super chat quickly. What do you guys have to say to all the truthful prophecies from Muhammad that have been coming true? You guys are blind to the truth. Islam is the truth. we are at the end of the conversation. I really don't want to go into prophecies right now, but it's a
I could give two quick responses.
yeah.
One, I've never seen. I've been all through the Muslim sources. I've never seen a prophecy that I was remotely impressed with.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, what do you do with the false prophecies?
Yes.
There are clearly and indisputably false prophecies. Like Muhammad says that the end is not going to come. This is in Sahih al-Bukhari. That the end is not going to come until the people of, I think it's Dhul Khalasa, the women there go around the place and their naked buttocks exposed and so on, and that's going to be a sign of the end. Muslims destroyed that place centuries ago. How's this going to be a sign of the end times? So they're going to come along, they're going to rebuild it and all this stuff. He starts talking about the end times and, this mountain of gold is going to be discovered from, underneath this river and stuff. My goodness, go. He said it's there. He says there's this mountain of gold and wealth is going to be so plentiful towards the end that it's just piles of riches everywhere. When it's impossible. When is this going to happen? There are all these prophecies that are clearly haven't come true, can't come true, and are never going to come true. So that's one thing. But the final issue is, according to Muhammad himself, false prophets speak true things because the demons, the jinn, they sneak into paradise and they hear what Allah is saying about the future, and then they go to the false prophets to tell them stuff, to give them information about what's going on in the future in order to mislead people. So if, according to Islam, prophecies can come true, false prophets can deliver true prophecies because actual spirit beings heard Allah's plans for the future, and so they're going and delivering true information about God's plans for the future, but they're delivering the information to false prophets. Then how can you say from an Islamic perspective, these prophecies of Muhammad came true? Again, I'm not aware of these prophecies, but these prophecies of Muhammad came true. This proves that he's a prophet, when according to Muhammad himself, getting prophecies right does not mean you're a true prophet at all, because even false prophets can do that.
That is Sahih Hadith.
Yep.
There is more to that. I mean, if you want to look at it, if you really want to look at all the prophecies that Muhammad made, and you want to look at what he got right, then you should focus on all the things that he got wrong. What Muslims usually do is, as you pointed out, they take these prophecies that look like they happened. It looks like it happened. It actually didn't. Like something related, something similar happened, or something that could be understood as close to that happened, and then they accepted this as a prophecy that turned out true, a miracle by Muhammad, and then they think, okay, this is great proof that Islam is true. There are so many things, like I'm pretty sure there are several hadith that are about how the Muslims will fight the Romans before the end of in the end times, or before the end of the world. Muslims will fight the Romans. The Romans have disappeared very, very long ago. I don't know if you are in any way familiar with history. The thing is, what Islamic scholars make of that now is, well, the Romans refers to Western people. It refers to Christians. And that's what it means. That's what they make of it. But what the prophecy itself says is so dumb. It is inaccurate. It is nonsense. The Romans don't exist anymore. And there are so many examples to this. Just look into it. It is that's cherry picking. That's a very great example of cherry picking. If you want to say that there are prophecies that have been fulfilled that prove that Muhammad is a true prophet, that is completely cherry picking. So don't believe in stuff like that. Believe in reason. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Not a verse said, is kissing a giant like genitalia stone racist? Yeah, take that too. Thank you so much for your super chat. Poop Zombie, thank you also for your super chat. What is with all these names? Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining. Thank you, David, again for being here. We should do this again soon. I would say my best advice to all of you for all times, for all eternity, will always be stay away from Islam.